Hello my lovelies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Kaylee and today I'm going to do a video that I probably should have planned this out better, but I just kind of wanted to talk to you. Honestly, I've got myself a coffee and I thought I'm just going to have a little ramble and let you know about my experience of long COVID. It's one that I've been asked a lot of questions about on my Instagram and social media because I've shared bits over there about how I've been feeling and how things have been going. But I just wanted to do one video where everything was in one place to sort of let you know what it was like when I first had COVID, and then how I discovered I had long COVID, what the signs were, what the symptoms. And I recently had an appointment with the long COVID clinic and I've been referred to them and I'm going to start having appointments with them. And some of the things that she told me and some of the ways that the nurse explained things to me, I found really interesting and really useful. So I just thought maybe they'll be interesting and useful for you as well. Whether you've got long COVID and you just don't want to feel as alone, because I have felt like that. It can feel quite lonely at times. Whether you know somebody who's struggling with long COVID and you just want to understand a little bit better so that you can support them, or whether you're just interested and feeling a bit nosy. Whatever your reason for watching this video, I really hope that it helps or is interesting. So I'll start off at the beginning, I guess. I first got COVID just over a year ago. In fact, it was a year ago, a couple of weeks ago when I got it. And my symptoms weren't the usual cough, temperature, and the loss of taste and smell didn't come till a lot later on. My symptoms when I had COVID, and obviously these are different for everyone. I also, before I go into any detail, I just want to say that I am not a medical professional, I am not a nurse, I'm not an expert in any way. This is just my experience, so please don't take anything that I say as advice or as like medical fact. Please do your own research, seek out your own referrals and diagnoses and things like that. Yeah, this is just my story. This is just me sat waffling to you as if you were sat in my living room and we were having a coffee together. There we go, disclaimer there. So yeah, I got COVID a year ago and my symptoms weren't the same as like the three main ones. I had a very bad headache and that lasted for a good 4 or 5 days. I was also extremely dizzy, and this was the most difficult symptom for me. And Alistair was the same actually. When he had it, he suffered with the dizziness and the headaches. So basically I was just really dizzy, and every time I tried to sit up or walk, I felt like, the only way I can describe it is if I went on a night out, if I got really drunk, my drink had been spiked and then someone put me on a waltzer. I have never felt dizziness like it. Everything was spinning. I couldn't stand up without help. I had to hold on to things to get myself from the bed to the toilet. And yeah, the dizziness was the main issue for me, along with the headaches, fatigue. I just ached a bit, but that wasn't awful, I guess. But yeah, I was very, very tired and I was quite out of breath easily as well. So they were my main symptoms, and I didn't lose my sense of taste and smell until day 10. And I only realised that because I was sat in the kitchen homeschooling Harry, and all of a sudden Alistair comes running down the stairs and was like, "Hey, can you not smell that?" And I was like, "Smell what?" And he had a pizza in the oven that he'd forgotten about. I didn't realise it was in there, and it was burnt. It was completely black. He opened the oven, the smoke billowed out. He'd smelt it from upstairs and come running down. I had no clue until he opened that oven door. I couldn't smell it at all. And burning is one of the smells that I still can't smell, which is worrying. But yeah, so had COVID. It took me probably a couple of weeks to recover. But I thought I had recovered. I never got my sense of taste and smell back fully. I did get it back, but it was different. So things like onions and garlic in particular smelt different and tasted different. So it wasn't that I couldn't taste them at all, it was that they were completely different and they were disgusting. Like they smelt like sewage, and they still do, but I think I'm just getting used to it. They still don't smell as they should. They're not quite as sewagey as they were. And then like, right, okay, so if you're a parent, you'll understand this one. You know, like when you're helping kids wipe bottoms, or, you know, in a house of 2 kids, there smells, poo smells different, like just worse. And I don't think that's because I'm feeding them something different. I think that's just my nose. Yeah, I wasn't going to mention that, but it's part of it, right? So let's go with it. Okay, so yeah, I thought I'd recovered. I was still exhausted, like really tired really quickly, going to bed earlier. And one of the things that I've struggled with the most is getting up in the morning. I just find it really hard, and I have done since I had COVID, but it didn't click for me that it was because of the COVID. So I just thought, you know, life's busy. I was a key worker during a pandemic and I had 2 kids and we couldn't have the support we usually would because of restrictions. And I just thought, yeah, it makes sense that I'm tired. I didn't click. And I also didn't think of the smell and taste not coming back as like a sign of long COVID. I just thought maybe it doesn't come back for some people. It's been a year and it's still not back properly. So anyway, I was absolutely fine, carrying on like that, trying my best. I should also mention that I am diagnosed with anxiety. I have got medication for it and I do struggle with that. So some of the symptoms that could be long COVID also cross over with anxiety. So I just thought that my anxiety was particularly bad. So some other things that I might have, that might be the long COVID, I just passed off in my brain as anxiety, you know, like that, like racing heart and shortness of breath and headaches and things like that. So anyway, like months and months went by, and then about maybe 4 months ago, I got a chest infection. And usually I don't really get ill that much. I tend to shake things off pretty quickly and I'm better and everything's fine. However, this chest infection, I could not shake it. My chest was terrible for weeks and weeks. I went through 3 courses of antibiotics before we managed to get on top of it. And the doctors just couldn't understand why, not that they couldn't understand, but there was no other explanation as to why I wasn't getting better. So basically my chest was really, really tight. I was very, very breathless. I was getting dizzy. And looking back on it, I didn't think at the time, but all my COVID symptoms from when I had COVID came back, and it felt almost like I had COVID again, but also with the bad chest this time. So I kept going back to the doctors and they referred me for a chest x-ray, which was fine. My chest was clear. I just couldn't shift this chest infection. When they listened to my chest, it just wasn't going anywhere. So they took me off my anxiety medication for a while to check that that wasn't affecting it in any way. My anxiety medication is, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like beta blockers. So it doesn't affect the way I think or the way I process information or my brain or anything. What it does affect is my body's response. So it helps with the racing heart, the dry mouth, the clammy, sweaty hands, the sort of dizziness and things like that. So yeah, that medication's really, really helped me, along with a load of counselling, which has helped me to sort out my head. That really helps me with my anxiety. However, I had to come off that medication for a little while. So then it became an issue of, well, am I feeling this way because of my anxiety, or is it that it is maybe long COVID and it is something else? Anyway, kept going back and they were sending me for tests. Went to the hospital, had my chest checked. They checked my blood sugars. They checked, what else did they check? Loads of different blood tests. Couldn't tell you everything that they checked. And eventually they came to the conclusion that it must be long COVID. The diagnosis for long COVID is process of elimination because they just don't know enough about it to be able to test for it specifically. So it is a process of elimination thing, and that was the diagnosis they came to. I was then referred to the long COVID clinic for an initial assessment, and I think that took about 2 months to come through. Yeah, about 2 months. So I had that a couple of weeks ago and it just made me feel so much better. The nurse on the phone, it was a telephone appointment. I don't know why I do that. The nurse on the phone basically went through my symptoms with me. Oh, big symptom that I've missed. I find it quite ironic that this is the one that I've forgotten. Brain fog and memory issues. If you tell me something and I don't write it down, you never told me. If we have plans and I don't write it down, like we never planned it. And this became a big issue. Obviously it made it harder with work and made it harder just in day-to-day life, especially with, you know, kids and activities and everything else going on. I'd put something down, I'd forget. I'd put something in the oven, I'd forget. My brain just wasn't firing on all cylinders, for want of a better phrase. So the brain fog was a nightmare. I actually remember, like, there's times, and when I spoke to the nurse, she said that this is really common and there are similarities. There's times when it almost feels like, the only thing I could liken it to is as if you've had a very mild, very, very mild, I don't want to compare because it's nothing like it, but very mild stroke. And your brain just, so I was working one day and I was looking at somebody and I knew their name was in my head, and inside my head I'm like shouting the name and I couldn't get it out my mouth. It was like something, it was like some sort of connection was broken, and that's happened a few times, usually when I'm ill or tired or something else is going on. So anyway, I had this appointment with the nurse and she went through all my symptoms with me, and she said that actually what I was describing was typical to like 90% of the people she speaks to. She said a lot of the people who suffer with long COVID are the people who were affected in their head, obviously some in their chest, but she said what happens is, again, I am paraphrasing, go and do your own research because I am just telling you what I remember and from my experience, but she said that when COVID gets into your body, it finds somewhere to settle, and that's where it goes. So in my case, COVID went to my head. And I always feel really weird saying it's all in my head because it sounds like I'm making it up, but it literally is all in my head. So COVID went to my head, and it does affect your brain and it affects your balance. And so this is why COVID's affected my memory, my like dizziness, my headaches and my sense of taste and smell, because it's just settled around here for me. So yeah, that along with the fatigue were my main symptoms, and she said that is really, really common. One of the things that she suggested, which could be useful if you are struggling, is something I'd never heard of, and they are ear loops. So they're kind of like an earplug or an ear defender. And I did some research into these, and basically they're quite often used for people with autism, and what they do is they help block out the background noise so that you can focus more. She was asking whether I'd been feeling stressed, whether I was sort of more irritable or I found it harder to focus. I was like, yes, absolutely, I find it harder to focus. Perhaps I'm a bit more irritable, but life's just been crazy, so I just assumed that's why. Maybe I'm just a bit of a grumpy cow. But she said one of the things that you can really struggle with is, so when you've got long COVID, I knew this was going to be a rabbity video, I should have written something down, but I'm talking to you as if we're just sat having a chat, okay? What happens when you have long COVID is your body has fought the COVID has been defeated and has left, and your body doesn't realise that the COVID is gone. So at resting, my body is still fighting something that isn't there. So rather than actually being properly like resting, like when I'm sat down now, my body is still having its own little battle inside against an opponent that fled a long time ago. So she said that basically at resting, I'm probably coping with that okay, but then as soon as you introduce mental or physical stress, activity, exhaustion, then like say if, let me put this down. So say if at resting, like this is your resting level for your body, well mine is already fighting, so mine's starting up here. She said then you add the stress of like the work day or the kids or everything else going on, and usually they would go up like that, but mine are going up like this because I already started way too high, and that's why I'm getting really tired. I'm getting the brain fog and my symptoms are getting worse when I am stressed or tired, because I was already starting here fighting a battle that doesn't need to be fought. I hope that makes sense. She explained it so much better than I'm doing, but she's a nurse and she's amazing. So where am I up to? Yeah, basically, because I'm already up here, and because it's in my brain, a lot of the issue can be around sensory overload. She asked how I was doing with like loud noises and sounds, and I'll be honest, I've always been one of those people that struggles with background noise. I seem to automatically tune into something in the background rather than the thing I'm supposed to be. So if me and Alistair go out for dinner, I will be listening to the conversation that somebody's having over there really clearly, but I find it harder to focus on him, and I feel like I've always been a little bit like that. However, I do think it's been worse recently, and she said one of the things is it's like sensory overstimulation. So all these sounds are coming in, my brain is trying to deal with them and sort them out and decode them as it usually would, but my brain's already busy fighting this other battle somewhere else, so it's just not got the resources or the capacity to do that as well at the moment. Same with remembering stuff, same with everything else. So she said that these ear loops could help to block out some of the background noise, and it would just help give get me back down nearer to, as near to resting as I can, whilst my body's still having this little fight in its head. So I'm going to give those a go. I'll let you know if they're any good. What else? I've been referred, she said about the taste and smell. She sent me some resources for some activities to do. If the exercises that I've got to do don't help, I will be referred to speech and language, who are apparently offering help with regaining your sense of taste and smell, which is exciting. I'd really love to get that back. And basically she said rest is really important, because my rest isn't as rested as it would have been. So she said it's like trying to charge your phone. If you're trying to charge your phone but you're streaming something and you're this and that and you've got loads of different tabs open, it's not going to recharge as quickly as if you just leave it and let it rest. So one of the things that she suggested was several times a day go and lie down in a dark room and just cut out all sensory stuff. So like you not have your eyes closed so you're not looking, no sound, which I love that idea. I'd love to be able to, but I've got 2 kids and my house is a noisy house. My kids are noisy. I'm a teacher, so work is noisy, and there's always, you know, somebody there to talk to you, tell you about their day, ask you questions, and a big part of the job is socialising and talking and constant noise. So I haven't actually been able to do that very much, but I love the idea of it. I think it would be nice. But basically she said you need to listen to your body. I've heard lots of people saying you need to increase your exercise and you need to sort of like fight your way past it and build up your stamina. And she said while building up stamina is important, actually your body needs time to rest whilst it fights this battle. So I am taking that as a sign that I am doing the right thing by not doing loads of star jumps and trying to exhaust myself even more. One of the hardest things, in fact, yeah, one of the hardest things about long COVID has been having it alongside anxiety. So because of my long COVID, I've been exhausted. I've just wanted to curl up in a dark room and shut myself away and rest and recharge. However, because of my anxiety, I know from past experience, if I shut myself in the house and I don't go out and I let myself kind of give in to that will to be inside and not engage with other people, then that flares up my mental health. And I've suffered with depression before, and I can kind of, I feel like I'm at a point now where I can feel when it's creeping in. So I have to keep that balance. Obviously that's really difficult, particularly when there's other people's opinions involved, and I have to say I was really lucky. My boss at work was amazing and actually suggested a slower phased return to work than I had initially suggested. You know, they really looked after me, made sure we did it at the right pace, followed my doctor's instructions to the letter. Absolutely amazing, cannot fault them. I've been very lucky in that respect, and I know a lot of people aren't. The thing that I've struggled with the most is people's opinions of me. Because people don't understand long COVID that much, I feel like people think that you're being lazy. People think that you are using it as an excuse. And one of the things that I got in particular was, but you were fine. And I'm one of those people that even when I'm exhausted or I'm tired or I'm feeling ill, you know, I carry on. I don't walk around like, oh, woe is me. And, you know, I'm a mum. You just get on with it and you paint on a smile, and that's just what I do. So a lot of people are like, well, you look fine, or, well, you had COVID ages ago, so why are you saying you've got long COVID now when you were fine before? And I didn't know I had long COVID until I had the chest infection and it flared everything up, and I then got my referral and realised that actually a lot of those other things were linked to it as well. So yeah, I had some unkind comments about that and sort of, you know, just come on, get yourself up out of it, you're fine. You just need to believe in yourself a little bit more, you've got this. And I'm like, it's not a mental health thing, it's I'm physically have no energy, I'm physically drained, and I'm not very well. So that was a challenge. And then also I had issues around because obviously with the long COVID I was off work for a little bit, and you know, when people know that you're off work, they think that you should be in the house, not leaving, resting in bed. That's that. And I did go out to a friend's house, and I shared that I'd been out. I didn't see anything wrong with that. I literally went and sat in her kitchen. But I did have a few people were upset with me because I had done that, because I shouldn't have been going out if I had long COVID. But the fact is, it's such a fine balance between mental and physical health. I needed to rest because I had the long COVID, but I also needed to keep going out, keep seeing people, and not shut the world out and alienate myself, because I've been there and I've been down that spiral, and I'm not prepared to get that unwell with my mental health ever again if I can help it, because it was a very dark time. So when I feel that depression sort of starting to creep in, those clouds starting to roll, for me I have to push through the anxiety and go out, go and be with someone, because the second I let myself stop and give into it, then I'm on the slope. I hope that makes sense. I know it's like such a personal thing for everybody. But yeah, that's been one of the biggest challenges. And I think it just comes down to people are trying to help in their own way. People are trying to understand. People have got their own stresses. And I think it's just not a lot known about long COVID, is there? So, and not a lot known about mental health and actually the importance of balance in it. One of the things that the nurse said to me, she sort of asked, you know, how would other people been? Had things been supportive? And I told her, and she said, yeah, that sounds really common, but actually you're doing the right thing. You can't stop your life for it. There is no cure for it right now. You have to learn strategies on how to cope whilst you get better. So that did make me feel a little bit better, and I'm hoping that if you've been in a similar situation, it will make you feel a little bit better and less alone as well. That's about it really. I'm trying to think what else I wanted to share with you. Last thing I think I'll say is that it comes in waves. So not every single day am I super dizzy or getting disoriented and confused or absolutely exhausted. That seems to come and go depending on how active I've been, how mentally active I've been, and if I'm ill or under the weather, that makes it worse. There is always that underlying fatigue. I do get more headaches. I do have to take a lot of painkillers just to be able to go into work. But I don't think it shows. I don't think I let it show. And I think that means that people often think that you're okay when actually you might be really struggling. So if you have got a friend or a family member who has got long COVID, just check in on them and just make sure they're all right, because the chances are that they're just trying to get on with things as normally as possible, even though they're feeling a bit rotten. And yeah, they might just appreciate you checking in and asking how they are. If you have got long COVID, then I'm so sorry, it sucks. It really, really sucks. But we got this, and definitely go and seek help, because I just felt so much better from speaking to the nurse, and I am looking forward to this referral and whatever that means, because it's just a step closer to getting better, and that makes me very, very happy. I'm sure there's a million things that I've forgotten, and I know I've not done this in the most coherent order, but I wanted to just sit down and genuinely speak to you like a friend. So there you go. That's my experience of long COVID. Oh, last thing, possible silver lining, but I don't know. Recently, I've been around a lot of people who have like been diagnosed with COVID, and it seems to have been doing the rounds again, and everybody else seems to have got it and I haven't. So maybe, complete speculation, I have no idea, maybe having long COVID and being triple vaccinated means that you don't get COVID anymore. Or maybe I was the one passing it around and didn't realise, but like genuinely I was doing lateral flows every day, I didn't have COVID. So maybe that's a silver lining. Maybe I'm just making that up in my head, but it makes me feel better. So sending massive hugs to you if you are suffering, and go and check in on your loved ones if you know somebody who is struggling with this at the moment. And yeah, if you've got any questions, leave them in the comments. Like I say, I'm sure I've missed loads out because I didn't make a list, and as I said earlier, my brain doesn't work so well right now, so that was a big mistake. But there you go, chatty update. I think this might be the first video like this that I've done. Anyways, yeah, feel free to ask anything you want in the comments, and as I said earlier, don't take any of this as advice or gospel. Go and see a doctor and get your own diagnosis and support and help, because it is out there, even if you have to wait a little while for it. Right, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching this video. Give it a like, comment and say hi if you got this far. I would be very impressed. Yeah, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.